It's comparison time, everybody. Welcome to another video on the 2025 Suzuki GSX-S1000 GX. So today we're going to be comparing the riding experience of this motorcycle to the likes of the H2 SX SE from Kawasaki, and we'll see where this motorcycle stacks up in the list of sport touring, hyper touring motorcycles that I've ridden in the past. So let's jump on and let's go. Now the funny thing is, you guys, that when it comes to this bike, there are actually quite a lot of comparisons that can be made to a lot of different motorcycles. But I mean, the H2 SX is perhaps the bike that comes to mind the most because it's got a lot of the same features. But in terms of riding experience, there are actually some outliers here which well, maybe dark horses in our little comparison today. So I am doing this comparison from memory, as you would expect, you guys. So the bike that I'm riding right now has the advantage because I'm having lots and lots of fun with it. And I really like it. Alright, this 2025 GSX-S1000 GX, this is a really fun sport touring riding experience, and it does kind of blur the lines a little bit between sport touring and adventure touring. I've explained that in a little bit more detail in our first impressions ride review of this bike, so if you wouldn't mind going to check that video out, I'd really appreciate it. And this video, of course, is made possible by Fraser's Motorcycles, who very kindly have loaned out this bike to me, which we'll talk about them in a little bit later on. But you guys, okay, so let's first talk about the H2 SX SE in relation to this bike. So when you look at the tech packages of both of these bikes, they have so many of the same things. All right, the fully adjustable electronic active suspension, cruise control, quick shifter up and down, a huge TFT dash, which now I'm looking at it has got quite big bezels. I don't know why. Like, we got more screen real estate, why don't we use that? You know, when we got phones where the bezels are like 1 or 2 millimeters thin, I don't know, maybe that's just more expensive to do when you've already got all of this extra tech stuff here. But yeah, so there's a lot of similarities in the tech packages between these two bikes, you guys. I mean, the H2's party trick is, of course, that supercharger, which does give it an edge in terms of outright performance. But to be brutally honest with you guys, I actually prefer the riding experience of this bike, genuinely, over the H2 SX. And this is at a much cheaper price point as well. My goodness, the wind is insane today. So yeah, that's the funny thing, you guys, is that even though the H2 SX has got slightly more tech features, like it's got the active cruise control, which is really cool, this bike you can change gears using the quick shifter whilst you're on the cruise control. That's awesome. That's so cool. That's so fun. And honestly, it makes up for the lack of active cruise control in a lot of ways. You've also got the emergency brake lights that come, the emergency hazard lights that come on as well when you brake hard on the H2 SX. So okay, there are certain features on that bike that you might be missing on this. I mean, a center stand as well. I believe the H2 SX, if I remember correctly from our ride review last year, had a center stand as well, which is another neat feature. But what I care about the most, you guys, is riding experience, and I think this bike is a better riding experience than the likes of the H2 SX, which is crazy. But this is more comfortable. It's a more like naked like seating position. The H2 SX is far sportier, and it feels like a more sporty motorcycle. And it kind of depends on whether or not you prefer like a more super sport like riding experience or more of a naked riding experience. This one kind of caters to both. So it's got like a super sport engine because it hasn't got all that much torque in the lower end RPMs, but then as soon as you get past 5,000 RPM, this bike, it really comes alive. So whereas the H2SX probably has got a little bit more torque down low, and it's producing a lot more horsepower in the top end as well, because of that supercharger. That bike is producing 200 horsepower, whereas this bike's producing 150. The H2SX is producing 130 newton meters of torque, this is producing 100 newton meters of torque. So there is a disparity there, but in terms of the riding experience, I actually prefer this. I actually think this is a bit more streetable. I actually think that this is just a more refined riding experience in so many ways, and more of a riding experience that I appreciate, that I connect with. You know what I mean? Even though I really like the H2SX, and of course I had a ZH2 as well. This is more reminiscent of the ZH2. More reminiscent of the ZH2 for sure. This video was made possible by Fraser's Motorcycles. If you live in the Gloucestershire area or the surrounding counties here in the UK and you're looking to buy a new or used motorcycle, definitely go and check them out. They've got plenty of stock available, a huge showroom, and plenty of demos for you to test ride, just like this one right now. So definitely go and check them out. I'd really appreciate it. Fraser's would really appreciate it. And when you do visit, don't forget to say hello from me. Alright, so let's talk about some other motorcycles, which you know what? I actually give this bike a huge run for its money, even though they're a lot cheaper. Let's talk about the Suzuki GSX-S1000. Again, another sport touring motorcycle. It's a parallel twin. Is it a 779cc parallel twin, if I remember correctly? I can't remember off the top of my head, but yeah, not producing anywhere near as much power and torque as this bike is, but it's significantly lighter. It's got a lot of charm to it, that bike, and if you're looking for a sport touring bike that is more sportier, that's got nicer looks, well, then the GSX-8R is arguably like a no-brainer, really. It's currently, right now, Suzuki's top-end kind of sport bike-ish offering. The GSX-R1000 is coming back soon, which will, you know, hopefully we'll get to have a go on when that comes out. But honestly, that bike has got horsepower, it's got torque. It's not an inline four. I like inline fours. It's a shame that we're missing out a little bit there with the extra 2 cylinders. However, that bike has still got a lot going for it, in the sense that you don't really feel like you're missing out on a lot of performance. There's a video that I shot earlier today which was kind of like, well, this bike doesn't really make a lot of sense for everyday street riding with this engine. Like, even though I really like it, you're not actually getting any real performance until you're about 8, 9, 10,000 RPM, which is very cool, and it's very much like a super sport-esque riding experience, which I wasn't really expecting for a bike like this. But there's kind of performance left on the table there for the audience that would be looking at a motorcycle like this. I don't know, maybe that's just me. But with the GSX-8R on the other hand, you're getting torque, you're getting horsepower, and you're able to use all of it. You're able to use every bit of it. And you don't feel like you're missing out. Because in order to reach the fun speed, the fun kind of power of this bike, well, you've got to be in those higher end RPMs, and because this bike is geared quite long, you're going to be breaking a lot of those speed limits in order to have fun on this bike, which I'm not sure was the right call. I mean, I kind of mentioned in the other video that we shot today that if all that Suzuki had to do was tweak the gearing a little bit, make it a little bit shorter so you're getting more torque, more punch off the line, and yeah, sure, you'll be sacrificing a little bit of top speed, but on a bike like this, you don't really care about top speed. Not really. Yes, it's a sport tourer, and a lot of sport tourers have got a lot of top speed, But on a bike like this, which is more of a gentlemanly riding experience, I don't know if top speed really matters all that much on this bike specifically. So yeah, that's all Suzuki needed to do to make this bike just even better. And that's the thing, if they did that, this bike would be unstoppable. Honestly, it would be, I mean, it's already like one of the best hyper sport touring motorcycles on the market right now. But at that point, it would be the best. Maybe top 3. At least from what I've ridden anyway. So yeah, that's the thing about the GSX-8R, you guys, is that it looks nicer. It feels like it's meant to be, you know. Whereas this bike doesn't feel like it's meant to be, you know. This engine doesn't feel like it's meant to be in this bike. I tell you what, the 1050 cc from the V-Strom, that would be an interesting choice for this bike. That'll be a very interesting choice for this bike. But hey, that's hypothetical. So when it comes to the GSX-8 and this, I think I'd still pick this over the GSX-8, but it is still able to give you a very, very similar riding experience in so many ways, and a very positive riding experience in so many ways with nicer looks. A lot of it is going to depend on budget, because this is about five or 6 grand more than the GSX-8, and of course whether or not you care about the tech package this bike has got. I really like this tech package. I think it's an amazing tech package for a motorcycle in this price range, and who it's competing against in this price range. I think this bike is doing a very, very good job against those motorcycles. But one bike which I honestly think I would pick over this in this class, and it's a very tight race between these two bikes, is the Kawasaki 1100 SX, or at least in my case the 1000 SX as it was back in 2024. But I mean, the 1100 SX is basically the same bike. It's not too different really in many ways. So that bike is special in so many ways, because it's a 1043 cc inline 4, so it's got a little bit of extra displacement. It's pushing a little bit more torque at lower RPMs, I believe, actually, than this. But it's got really all the fun factor you ever need. So similar to this bike, it rides a bit like a Naked. Very, very similar ergonomic package. And in terms of performance, on paper, they're very, very similar. So the 1000 SX, oh my goodness, this is going to be interesting. Grain! Ah! I got peppered. Got absolutely peppered by that. Anyway, yeah, performance very, very similar on spec between this and the 1000 SX. But the way how the 1000 SX is delivering its power is better, in my opinion, than this. So you're getting a lot more power in the lower end RPMs, a lot more torque in the lower end RPMs, which arguably is more important. And sure, like, it doesn't have the highest top speed in the world, the 1000 SX, but I think that is to its advantage, because it's able to put more of that performance into lower speeds. You know what I mean? So it doesn't matter that you're missing out on, I don't know, 10, 15, 20 mile an hour of top speed, when you've got all of that torque to play with, trying to get up to 60, 70 mile an hour. In terms of straight line fun, the 1000 SX I think is better than this bike. And the kicker is coming in at a much lower price point than this. 10 grand. 10 grand for a more thrilling riding experience on a very similar riding position. Oh man, that's tough. That's really tough. Because I really like this bike, but when you're talking about price to performance, bang for buck, sure, this bike is performing very, very well against the likes of the H2SX, but not against the 1000 SX. No way. And not against my ZR 1400 either. Unfortunately. As much as this bike is very, very good, and when I say very, very good, like, I genuinely mean that. This is a fantastic motorcycle in every single way. There's only really a few bits and pieces that I'm not that happy about, like the windshield. It isn't a great windshield, to be honest. But in terms of riding experience, you guys, this bike is second to none. But I genuinely don't know if I would pick this over a 1000 SX. Honestly, the similarities are uncanny, you guys. The 1000 SX is missing out on all the tech goodies that this bike is offering, yeah, sure. But riding experience wise, unfortunately, I think it's a no contest. Yeah, that's what I mean, you guys. There are dark horses out there where you're getting a very similar riding experience, if not an even better one, for quite a lot less money. And that is especially the case between this and the 1000 SX from Kawasaki, for sure. It is a shame, because if the 1000 SX had this tech package, it would be that would be a perfect motorcycle for me. So if this bike had the 1000 SX's engine, man, match made in heaven. Honestly. But yeah, so that is a bike that I think, in my heart of hearts, I would take over this, the 1000 SX. This bike is great bang for buck when you think about all the tech features, but in terms of riding experience, the 1000 SX provides an even better bang for buck. So I suppose the last bike that we should probably talk about here, and there's a couple of other bikes that I could mention in today's video, but I do want to try and keep it as on point as possible today, but it's my ZR 1400. I mean, this bike absolutely wipes the floor with my ZR 1400 in terms of tech packages. The ZR's got nothing. It's got ABS and 2 power modes, and 3 traction control levels, I think. That's it. Whereas this is far more capable. On a modern road, this is a far more capable platform than my ZR. But once again, the reason why I still have my ZR is pure riding experience, you guys. Riding experience on the ZR, there aren't that many bikes that are better than my 14. My 14R than in terms of riding experience. Anyway, guys, yeah, riding experience wise, as I've already mentioned, I care more about riding experience than anything else. ZR 1400, the riding experience on that bike is better than this. Now, one last bike I want to mention before we sign off today is my Blackbird, my 2002 Honda Blackbird, because that's where it gets interesting for me, because the Blackbird is producing only a little bit more horsepower, top end horsepower than this. It's producing only a little bit more torque than this. But even though, you know, I mentioned that the ZR's riding experience is better than this, I actually think that this rides better than the Blackbird. But I do wonder if that's just an age thing. You know what I mean? Like, this is 25 years newer almost. quarter of a century newer, like, of course it's going to be better. And it certainly is. It certainly is. The thing is, the Blackbird is a great bike as well. Again, produces buckets of torque, and it's got a lovely amount of top end horsepower, but this bike has got more of what the Blackbird has, and yeah, that's just it. The Blackbird is a great bike, but this is a better bike because it has more of what the Blackbird has. It has at least more, it feels like it has more anyway. It feels like it's got more torque, and it feels like it's got more top end horsepower, and the throttle response is better as well. So yeah, you guys, out of all the bikes that I've mentioned today, this bike comes third in a list of very, very good bikes, closely followed by probably the GSX-8R, I think. But honestly, there's so many great bikes these days. That's the thing, it's so difficult picking between them at the moment, but I'll try to be as fair as possible, and you know, this is just my opinion from my hearts of hearts, you guys. But thank you ever so much for joining us on our ride out today on the awesome Suzuki GSX-S1000 GX. That's quite a mouthful, isn't it? But yeah, don't forget to leave that like, hit that subscribe button and that notification bell so you don't miss anything else from us, and we'll catch you all in the next video. Everyone, you take care, ride safe, have a good one.